Welcome to Wednesday's reading and reflection as we continue this week to follow Jesus in the final days leading up to his crucifixion and his resurrection. In a moment, the passage for today is going to appear on the screen. You might want to pause at that point and take time to read today's passage. And then after that, Agnes Hamilton's going to share with us her reflection on today's reading.
So we're halfway through Holy Week, and Darren has asked me to share a thought on today's readings, which record events halfway through Jesus' final week. So let me read a verse or two out of Mark 14. While Jesus was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of pure nard. She broke the jar and poured the perfume on his head. Some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, "Why this waste of perfume?" And later on, it says, Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, went to the chief priests to betray Jesus to them. So I was thinking about some of the people in this story, and the first one is the woman that I was thinking about. This woman came to Jesus with a very expensive, precious gift in an extremely extravagant show of her love and her devotion. The perfume itself was very expensive and precious and much valued, but the alabaster vial as well was precious and expensive and much sought after. So anyone watching on that day knew that this act of devotion was costly and extravagant, to say the least. But the woman, of course, thought nothing of the cost, because this act of devotion was simply the overflow of her heart of love for her Lord. Her heart was undivided in her devotion of her Lord. And then there's Judas. Judas was a disciple and also a follower of Jesus, and at one point he had left everything and everyone to follow Jesus. But Judas struggled. Judas struggled with the love of money. And as the keeper of money, he faced temptation in this regard every day. And we know that got the better of him. And so when he watched this costly, extravagant waste of this act, he was enraged. He was furious. And he, unfortunately, turned away from Jesus because of his rage at this waste. And he went down a treacherous path that didn't end well for him. But it didn't have to be like that, because the others in the story, the other disciples who were there that day, they also were enraged. They also couldn't understand this waste of perfume. They couldn't get to grips with why this woman had such an extravagant act of devotion. And we also know that their hearts perhaps were a bit divided, because later on in the week we know that they completely deserted Jesus in his greatest hour of need. But we can take encouragement from this, I think, because these disciples who were fear-filled, who lacked understanding, who didn't know what was going on, who felt sorrow and pain, who had many doubts. These same disciples were the very ones that Jesus built his church upon, and they ultimately gave their lives for the Lord. And so we can take encouragement from this today. While our hearts may not be as this woman's, while some of us may feel very far from the Lord, some of us may feel distant, Some of us may even feel that we've turned away from the Lord. We can, like these disciples, stay the path, keep coming back to Jesus. They obviously kept coming back to Jesus. So our encouragement is, despite all that we may feel or think or even have done, we can turn to Jesus and we can come back to Jesus, because after all, that's what the cross is about. It's about grace and love and forgiveness. You know, there's a line in a song that has been on my mind constantly. The song's on our website. But the line is this: to this I hold, my hope is only Jesus. So together, let us say, to this we hold, our hope is only Jesus.
What gift of grace is Jesus my Redeemer? There is no more for heaven now to give. He is my joy, my righteousness and freedom, my steadfast love, my deep and boundless peace. To this I hold.